Hi everyone. So I've been using this Motorola Edge 20 Fusion for over a week now. Motorola is really bad with the naming because it took me some time to understand or learn that Motorola One Fusion Plus. So every time I say Motorola Edge 20 Fusion, I automatically attach plus to it. So I really don't understand their naming. They have E series, G series, 1 series, Edge series, and it's really hard to tell like which series belongs where. But anyway, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about this phone right now. I just want to say this is the best phone you can get if you want a clean software experience. I think the only phone that came close is the OnePlus Note CE, but there is some problem with that phone. Like I reviewed that phone, I'll put that somewhere around here. So check that out. So the performance of OnePlus Note CE was underwhelming. Also, there are a lot of apps that ask unnecessary permissions. With the Motorola Clean UI, you only get Facebook pre-installed and you can delete that easily. So you basically don't get any sort of bloatware on this phone, and any of the app do not ask for any sort of privacy or sharing your data somewhere. So I think this is the clean software experience you can get after a Pixel. But why do I think this is the best phone you can get in this price segment? Because in this price segment, every phone compromise on somewhere. So either you get bad quality, you either get LCD or TFT display if you want to go for high refresh rate. You might get 4G and this phone has 5G if you care about that. And especially the bad software experience. So if I remove that OnePlus Note CE, you're only left with iQOO, Redmi, Xiaomi, that sort of phone, and it might be okay for some people, but the software experience is really terrible for me. So for me, the only option that exists with good software experience is Samsung. But with Samsung, you also have to compromise because none of the Samsung phone in this price range is a full package. So if I just talk about Samsung, you get M51, which is okay, but it's kind of a brick and you have a slower processor and just 4G. Why I'm talking about 5G? Because even if I don't care about 5G, but in the same price, if you get a better high refresh rate display and a future-proof phone, I'll be okay with it. And if I talk about Samsung A52, I will definitely choose that phone over this because it has a full One UI experience. You have much better cameras and you will get better software updates. But the problem is that device is also expensive if you do not bargain well or you don't have any student account. And also that build quality of Samsung A52 feels a little bit cheaper as compared to this phone. But one thing I want to mention, if you actually want a good camera phone, I will definitely not choose this and go for any of the Samsung phone because they have better details, better processing and better colors. I will talk about that later and you will understand why I'm saying this. So those were my thoughts about this phone, but now actually let's talk about this phone. So there are a lot of things that I like about this phone, but there are a lot of compromises as well. Design is one of the things that I have mixed feelings about. Like I said in my unboxing video, the phone feels light and solid at the same time. And I also like the matte sort of finish, but this device is still big and a bit slippery from the back. You also get a lot of fingerprints on the back, so I would recommend a case. You still get some grip from the side because they're also plastic, but having a case actually makes it more usable because the camera bump on this phone is really bad. You can easily drop this from any surface with a little bit of touch. I accidentally dropped it multiple times from my side tables, but luckily I have wooden flooring so it didn't impact anything and I didn't get any sort of scratches or glass was not broken. But I will definitely recommend something because this camera bump is really bad. I think for the price, it's a very good built phone. I mean, there is no squeaky sound. I mean, you cannot even press it from anywhere. Like on Samsung A52, you can actually press the back. So I think that is good. I just don't like this camera bump. I'm like, no, I'm repeating it again and again. And also the back gets a lot of fingerprint even though it is a matte finish. If I talk about the display, at first it felt like it's the best display in any phone in this price segment. It's kind of true, but not completely. I mean, on the surface, you'll see there are very good colors. I mean, the contrast is also good, but the panel itself is not perfect. The gray uniformity on this panel is not very good. I mean, you can see that green tint of patches somewhere, and the lower brightness is not actually really low as compared to flagship levels, so that you don't feel that black crush or any sort of bigger green tint issue. So I think it's understandable for the price range, but yeah, saying that it's a really good panel segment, I think I still think the Samsung makes much better panel than this, even though Samsung is making this panel, but it's not the best out there. And it is a 10-bit panel as the company claims, but it does not matter if you cannot actually play a 10-bit content. So on Netflix you cannot play 10-bit or HDR, and on Prime Video you can't even see full HD. That might be fixed after a future update like OnePlus Nord 2, but it's still a bummer that you can't use the HDR of this phone on those applications, and I really did not use that 10-bit anywhere. So let me show you an example. So I took a screenshot from a video at the same resolution. First thing you need to notice that how artificial everything looks, and the second thing you need to focus on is the color bending. So the lines on the wall are basically color bending, which usually happens when a display cannot render good colors properly. So calling it a 10-bit display is a bit unfair to 10-bit panels. Outdoor visibility on the panel is also good, although I do not know the exact number of the nits, but I didn't see any sort of problem when I was using it outside under the sun. And one thing you need to notice that there is no always on display. I mean, when you pick it up, you'll see this, but it will go away. So I wish it would have been there because this phone has a very good battery life. So I think these are the phone where you can actually use that always on display, but sadly there is nothing. Before I talk about battery, I want to talk about the processing power. So this phone has Dimensity 800U and it's UFS 2.2. And in day-to-day life or in casual gaming, you're not going to face any sort of lag. I mean, I did not face any sort of lag. The 90Hz refresh rate is really good and day-to-day performance has been really good. But there is one area where I actually felt some sort of frame drops when I use YouTube. I mean, it doesn't have any sort of variable refresh rate, but I think it turns it to 60 hertz refresh or lower than that. So every time I do anything in YouTube, it feels a little bit jerky. So unless I close that application or minimize it, I mean, you'll feel that difference. It's not a big deal, but I think you're going to notice it when you're coming from 90 hertz to like 60 hertz. For the price, I still think this is one of the best performing devices I've ever used. There are some sort of bugs, but they can be rectified from a software update. But with Motorola software track record, I think that's, I mean, I would not ask you to buy this phone and wait for the updates because that not has been really a good case for Motorola. And they're also promising 2 years of software update, but we have to see whether it's going to be true or not. So for the audio, this phone has a headphone jack and a single speaker. For the audio with wired earphone, it has been really good. So I was using my AKG earphones and I did not face any sort of issue. I'm not an audiophile, so I cannot say that what's actually good or bad. But I did not see any sort of problem with my wired earphone. I also connected my AirPods Pro with that and test the Bluetooth connectivity. So the Bluetooth sound and the HDAC sound over the Bluetooth was also good, and I did not face any sort of Bluetooth range issues. The single speaker, on the other hand, is rather meh. So I would not say, I mean, if I want to watch just video and do not care about the audio itself, they're okay. They're kind of just there, so do not expect a lot from them. They're just kind of flat. Before moving to the camera, I want to talk about the basic things that Motorola did right, and there are a lot of things that they need to improve on. So the call quality is really good, the cell reception is good. I was not getting 4G plus because in my area for a long time I'm not getting it, but outside I was getting it. So the speed over the mobile data was also good. I did not face any sort of that issue. The ambient sensor was good, the proximity sensor was also good. The only problem I face this with the phone is the Wi-Fi stability. So the Wi-Fi range is low, that's a problem, but I'm not talking about the speed itself. So if I check the speed test, with every 2 or 3 seconds the connection drops and it goes from 200 to just 80 right away. I did not face any problem while watching some media, but when I'm doing some video call, I can see the poor quality there. So for a while, whenever I was doing a video call over WhatsApp, I was turning off the Wi-Fi, but right now I'm using 2.4 gigahertz and it's been working fine. So for 5 gigahertz, the Wi-Fi is not really good. Now let's talk about the camera. Like I said in my unboxing video, I don't really like about this Motorola camera UI. I mean, it feels unintuitive and it is kind of outdated, and the camera processing is not really good as well. I'll start with the video first. This is the 4K quality from the rear camera. I'm gonna show you that there is no stabilization in 4K. So I'm walking right now very slowly, but it's shaking like anything. So for stabilization, you need to turn on the 1080p. So this is the 4K quality of this camera. Say hi to Ren. And I'm going to take you in the darker area now so that you can see how much noise is there. I'm sorry for the background noise. So this is how it looks in the darker area. In photos, I think the camera only performs good when there is a lot of light. Even ultra wide performs good in the good light scenario. But when you go in a decent light environment, the camera will fall apart. The main sensor does not have OIS, so most of the photos will come out blurry. And if you can't click on the area where you actually want to focus, it will be out of focus most of the times. And when you make it on focus, I think it's going to blow out a lot of highlights. In low light, details are really bad and there is no consistency. If you see all of these pictures taken in the same environment, and I was just trying to focus into multiple areas, but they just come out really bad. And if you actually want to talk about the consistency, just look at the picture on the right and a video on the left side. There is a huge amount of color difference. And don't get me started on the night mode. I mean, if you just click in picture in night mode, it's just going to increase the exposure. There is no artificial intelligence behind it. For the front camera, if you just turn on the AI, it is going to paint your face. And if you turn it off, it's going to be really soft. Actually, the camera was performing a little bit better in the portrait mode, but otherwise, I'm not going to use this camera in any sort of scenarios. Like I said in the starting of the video, if you want a camera phone, I will definitely recommend going for a Samsung phone over this. So the only thing that is left right now is the battery and the charging. So you get 5000 milliampere battery and a 30-watt charger in the box. So if I want to full it from 30% to 100%, it takes approximately 1 hour because I do not exhaust my battery. So I usually keep it between 30 to 95%. This phone lasted me over 2 days easily. I do a lot of media consumption. I did not face any sort of heating issues while using the phone. So for battery and charging, I think it's a really good device. So in conclusion, this device is for those people who want just a clean software experience with no privacy issue and no security issues. And having that ThinkShield will help companies to protect their devices well for their employees. It is also a good media consumption and a casual gaming device. It's just not the best camera phone, and the Motorola track record for updates is not really good, but I can definitely recommend this phone to people who just want to use their phone, and I mean they want a reliable sort of phone and they don't want to worry about anything. I mean, it does not excel at anything, but I think it checks a lot of tick boxes right. Do let me know if you have any sort of question, and you can also follow me on Twitter because I post a lot of things related to every tech device that I'm reviewing, so you don't have to wait for my reviews. My name is Rohit. I'll see you in the next one. Till then.